Tonight, people in Wilton are concerned about another round of storms and possible flooding on the way.
Back in January, 3 breaks in the levee along the Cosumnes River left dozens of people trapped in their cars. 3 people died. And the Wilton Fire District says they don't think the threats will be as bad as the ones in January, but they're fully prepared to respond to all emergencies. Roxanne Elias has been in Wilton all day, talking with people living there. And Roxanne, the deadly storms at the start of the year are still so fresh in their minds. How are they feeling having to prepare again?
Laura, some residents tell me that it was scary to see just how high that water rose back in January. We were here actually when all of that happened, and some people were stranded in their homes without any way to leave. Now they're hoping that the levees hold and that the flooding isn't as bad as it was last time.
I mean, this is right where it was, the water.
Lance Bishop says this is the worst winter he's experienced in the 23 years he's lived off Green Road in Wilton. We first spoke to him back in January when his home was completely surrounded by flooding, and more rain is in the forecast.
District 800 has been working super hard, but they can't cover every spot. I mean, there might be another boil somewhere that they didn't see.
Sacramento County leaders and the Reclamation District 800 are working to keep the levees around Wilton strong. Reclamation District 800 oversees dozens of miles of levees along the Cosumnes River, which suffered 3 breaks during the January storms. And the Wilton Fire Protection District says they're also keeping an eye on the river levels.
So right now we're just preparing for possible water on the roads, maybe having to help the residents here in Wilton fill their sandbags and get ready to prepare for possible some localized flooding from the river.
Emergency responders are also ready to respond with water, food, and blankets if people are in need. And they're adding staffing volunteers for 2 more engines.
So that way we're ready to respond to whatever calls may come about here in the district, whether it be power lines down and trees on the power lines or whatever it may be.
That previous flooding cost Bishop and his wife about $20,000 in repairs to a fence and driveway. This time he feels more prepared to weather yet another storm with a running generator and dry firewood in the garage.
I'll leave that boat ready, and we got kayaks. We figure we could put our dogs in the boat and tie them to the kayaks, and my wife and I can paddle out if worse comes to worse. But I hope that doesn't happen.
Now, Green Road and Dillard Road in Wilton are actually the ones that see the worst of all of this flooding. First responders are asking you not to drive through areas that are covered with water because they say it can become deadly very quickly. Laura, back to you in studio.
Yeah, that is great advice, Roxanne. And it only takes a foot of water to move a small car. Roxanne Elias live in Wilton tonight. Thank you.
In Stanislaus County, an evacuation warning is now in effect in Modesto for the Riverdale community. An evacuation order is in place for the 9th Street River Road area along the Tuolumne River. There's also another evacuation warning for Grayson and Patterson along the San Joaquin River. ABC 10's Kurt Rivera is in Patterson tonight.
Just feet from his pink Victorian home he built 45 years ago.
And it's coming up every night, probably 8 or 10 inches.
80-year-old Raymond Washburn is keeping a close eye on the swollen San Joaquin River.
This is about the highest right now.
The retired mechanic, machinist, and Vietnam veteran isn't too worried at the moment. But nonetheless, his myriad of workshops, train, and his she shed are directly in the path of the river if it floods.
First it came in over there on the neighbors, and then she called me and said, hey, the water's coming. And so then it came over into here now. And it's come all the way up.
And this is why there's such a big concern here in the Patterson area. This is the San Joaquin River behind me, but you can see as I turn the camera, it's already jumped the banks and is overflowing here, threatening those homes right over there. One man who lives close by but didn't want to be shown on camera is very worried.
Yeah, I've never seen it like this ever in my life.
Along with geese, lamb, and other farm animals, Robin Imada and her husband own 10 acres of land right along the San Joaquin.
The water came up to this top rail, not this last time, but in another year before.
In her 20 years here, she has seen the river rise, but is confident at the moment her property will be safe.
I think the first flood, we sandbagged the garage and everything, and the water never got to the garage. So I don't get excited.
Still, as storm after storm continue to soak the valley, emergency officials warn everyone to always be prepared.
And here's what you need to know. There are 2 evacuation shelter locations in Stanislaus County. One is located at the Salvation Army Red Shield Center on Las Vegas Street in Modesto. The other is located at the Stanislaus County Fairgrounds in Turlock. Meanwhile, in South Lake Tahoe, O'Reilly's grocery store is closed tonight after heavy snow caused a portion of the roof to collapse. The store on South Lake Tahoe Boulevard closed on Saturday. Rayleigh says they're now working with a team of experts to determine next steps, but there is no word on when it could reopen. In Monterey County, a 100-foot wide levee failure flooded the small town of Pajaro and closed Highway 1. The levee failed on Friday night, leaving dozens stranded and in need of rescue by firefighters and even the National Guard. Pajaro is a town of about 1,700 people, most of them farm workers. So be sure to download the free ABC 10 app to keep up with the latest information on weather conditions, road and school closures. You can also upload your weather photos and videos, and you just might see them here on ABC 10.